do not chase the loudest opportunity. Do not copy the biggest players. Find overlooked value. Build proof. Let proof compound.
If education sales has you second guessing yourself, take a breath. This is a trust-first, relationship-driven market, and the old tactics, they don't translate. This show replaces guesswork with clarity and a customer acquisition system that builds a pipeline you can trust. I'm Josh Chernikoff, two-time education founder with 2 exits and a lead gen coach for companies in education. Through my ed sales elevation experience over the last 2 years, I've coached 210 companies to leads on repeat. In 2025 alone, I delivered over 2,600 hours of coaching to education companies. My co-host is John Gamba. He also has a successful exit, and now he's the Director of Innovative Programs and the Entrepreneur in Residence at Penn's Graduate School of Education. This is the only show dedicated to customer acquisition for education companies, so consistent listeners go from stalled deals to clarity, credibility, and a pipeline they can rely on. This is Ed Sales Edge, where education company founders earn their edge.
Welcome to the Ed Sales Edge Live, and I'm happy to be back at the plate. So nice to see you, John. We're at the plate, and the reason we keep referencing baseball is because we're going to talk Moneyball today. And it feels good to be back after triple bypass surgery and talking to you and talking to our audience and talking baseball. And it's a nice topic to come back with because you and I both love baseball. Moneyball is one of those stories that it looks like a sports story, but it's really about strategy, and it's really about baseball, yes, and business, and how smaller teams can win and they don't have to outspend everybody. And we are going to make a connection between smaller baseball teams and smaller teams in education. So can you give a little bit of background on Moneyball and Michael Lewis and the Oakland Athletics?
One of my favorite movies. My son is in film and in the film business. It is his favorite movie. You said it's not just about baseball. It can also be about your entrepreneurship and running a business. I think it's a movie about life too. I mean, I think Brad Pitt and the key characters and the story of that season is a life story. I think 2 of my favorite quotes, I'll get in the second quote in a moment because it goes deeper into the topic, but I think my favorite quote, and it's a life quote, is "I hate losing more than I ever want to win, and there's a difference." That's one of the best quotes in the movie. I've spent a lot of time in life, in business, in sports. I was a competitive golfer, and I often wondered about that. Like, sometimes I'd win and I'd be like, I'd get off and I wouldn't take the time to revel in that win, right? And sometimes when I lost, it would take weeks to get over the loss. And I'm like, am I in the wrong business? Am I in the wrong sport? Am I in the wrong relationship? Because the good doesn't outlast the bad. And that's something that we all have to ask ourselves. But I thought that was a key quote in Moneyball, where, he's sitting there and you could just feel it. And just that hate of, and relating to my entrepreneurial journey, I think that we're really driven sometimes, in the analogy of baseball, where you could hit 300 and, fail 7 out of 10 times and still make it into the Hall of Fame. What do you do in those moments of failure? What do you do when you're losing? How do you handle winning? How do you put yourself on a trajectory of winning? How do you sometimes see a win when you're actually losing? All of those are key analogies. And I just love the movie. I love the messages. I know we're going to get into a couple of the key themes regarding a lower valued team, and a team that can't invest as much as like the New York Yankees, but just has that tenacity and grit, and what that means as it relates to our collective entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, and the cool thing I think about where we are now in our own journeys is that we can look back a little bit on these entrepreneurial journeys, and I'm doing a lot of reflecting now, for sure, since I look back at, I started my first business in 2008, and as I think about the fact that I'm 17 days removed from a triple bypass surgery where I didn't have any family history, I'm not overweight, don't have high cholesterol, do eat well, do work out, have to begin to think about the stress of being an entrepreneur, which I love so much, but has also probably put me in this position of needing to have that surgery. And yes, we think about the losses more than we do the wins. Whether it's, yes, hitting the ball well on the field or on a golf course, but you can do that in your business as well. And we want to not have to swing for the fences all the time. But as business owners, specifically in education, there are companies out there that are like the Yankees, that have unlimited payroll, that have unlimited resources, that can go after those large school districts, those Montgomery County Marylands, those LA Unified, those New York Cities. But what about the fact that there are smaller businesses and smaller school districts, and that you don't have to swing for the fences all the time?
If you're listening to this and you're already thinking, yeah, I've been talking to a lot of people, but nothing's really moving, don't sit on that. Don't wait until the end of the episode. Just text me directly. 7713334233. Tell me what you sell, who you've been talking to, and where things feel stuck. I personally would read every text myself. All right, let's keep going.
What advice can you give to companies that you don't need the big school districts all the time to begin to get the traction, to begin to get the confidence, to begin to get the clarity?
LAUSD, New York City Schools, Dallas ISD, all these school systems, Philly Public Schools, School District of Philadelphia, SDP, very important on a trajectory of sustaining, building, and scaling value of a business. No question about it. I applaud and compliment any company that can do that. But what we like to say and coach is the smaller districts and some of the other key metrics, the KPIs or the OKRs, the objectives and key results, are equally as important, especially in the early stages of a business. And that is compressing the contact to contract. I like to say if you can keep that under 90 days, you're really able to show an investor, a partner, that you have a business of value where a purchasing agent can see the pain that you're going to alleviate and make an investment in that product to solve a problem within that district. 90 days, contact to contract. And I would say that no one in my 30 years of doing this now, I'm age 56, has ever done that at LAUSD or New York City Schools, full district implementation in under 90 days. Mm-hmm. So if you can show that track record of going to the smaller school systems and say New Jersey, I mean, there's some school districts in New Jersey that have 500 students, whereas LAUSD has 1 million or 900,000, or probably even more now. New York City Schools has 1 million, Miami-Dade 500,000, School District of Philadelphia 200,000. Imagine getting a district and saying you have a full district implementation in New Jersey, a smaller district that may have lower financial value but higher key metrics in terms of contact to contract, in terms of the ability to grow the amount of schools that you're serving inside of that district if it's an initial pilot. So I say don't get scared by not being able to land the big deal. get motivated by the ability to go to the smaller school system, get a pilot initiated, contracting the contact to contract, and move from there in terms of growth, value, and the ultimate metric, as we talk a lot about, which is NRR, the net recurring revenue, not necessarily the ARR, which is increasing the amount of district logos you get or university logos you get, but also growing within by being able to demonstrate value.
Right. The thing that Billy Beane did, the GM of the Oakland Athletics, is that he found players who others undervalued. They didn't always look like stars. I can remember, John, you bring up New Jersey. I can remember Gina Sinati, classic New Jersey name, right? Who reached out when I was at Flex Academies, and she's the superintendent of a school district. And she said, I want you to bring Flex to my school district. And man, I had my first school district right then and there. Now, I came to find out that the Saddle River School District was one school. The whole school district was one school, and she was the superintendent and principal, but I got myself a school district, and boy did I run with it, because I'm pretty good at telling a good story, and I ran with it. And so when you can find a smaller school district with a real problem, with a reachable decision maker, and the willingness to implement, you go. And Gina was that for me. I don't know if she knew it for me at the time. She still was and is a hero to me because she was my first school district. So what we have to do is find those opportunities like Billy Beane did in the movie and on the field. Small school districts can give founders what big districts often cannot. And this is so important, I think. Clarity, access, feedback, and proof, and proof, and proof. And the fact that you can get that proof is so important.
Before we go further, quick pause. If what I'm describing feels familiar, like you've been putting in effort, having conversations, but not seeing real movement, there's a good chance you're not looking at the right environments in the first place. And that's why we built the targeting map. It helps you identify where your best clients already exist. And more importantly, where value is already understood. Because mining only works if you're digging in the right place. And if you want it, it's in the show notes, and you can scan the QR code or just text targeting to 7713334-233 and we'll send it to you. All right, let's get back to it.
If you had to rank clarity, access, feedback, and proof, would you be able to put one of those ahead of the other, or are they all equally important to you? Clarity, access, feedback, and proof.
They're all critically important. So I'm keeping out the equally important. I don't think they're all equally important, and I'd probably lean on proof. Evidence of effectiveness, being able to objectively, quantitatively, and qualitatively prove that the product or service works in aligning to standards, supporting students with disabilities, allowing teachers to do their job better and more efficiently, saving a school district money, being able to impact student success, being able to engage with parents to keep students safe and healthy. Go on and on and on. You being able to prove that, I think, requires clarity, requires a logic model that shows through an evaluation that there's evidence of effectiveness. And your point on New Jersey is so, I mean, going back to when I was doing this hands-on, like running around New Jersey, Greene, Allendale, Medford, Cranberry, Englewood Cliffs, I can remember it like it was yesterday.
West Orange, Edison.
They all have less than 1,000 students.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, every one of those superintendents, Nathan Parker up in Orange, any one of those superintendents could pick up a phone and call Newark, call Atlantic City, call the bigger districts and say, we're using ConnectEd, we're using Highlight, we're using SwiftScore. And, that ability to substantiate that in a very clear, tangible, highly effective way matters. It matters. So I'm very much for clarity. It was clarity, access,
Feedback and proof.
feedback, which I think is, and proof. I'm big on them all, but I'm especially big on proof and leading with proof and spending time and energy on proof.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I also think what's so important about the school districts and superintendents you're referencing also brings us back to our friend Brooke Olson Farrell in Vermont, in Stowe, who's the superintendent, and the access that you get and the feedback, the real, true feedback that you get from them on how you can do better and be better, and how important that is. You get clear access. There are fewer layers. There's faster feedback. There's closer implementation. There's a stronger relationship with that decision maker. You get the case study. You get the referral. You get the proof of implementation. And then you get the confidence builder. You get the confidence builder that you can do this, and how far that takes you. I mean, I worked with so many people over the decade that I ran Flex, and I unfortunately can't remember their names, but I remember Gina.
Yeah.
I absolutely remember Gina, and I remember that phone call, and I remember the support and the clear feedback that she gave me. And so
You mentioned, you mentioned Brooke, and this point is so important for our audience, Josh. The word that comes to mind is iteration, co-construction, and co-creation. If you can go into that conversation in a less than 90 days contact to contract in a small district with an influencer superintendent and suggest that as you are adopting this solution, we're going to be listening and suggesting through a bilateral feedback loop a way to iterate on this solution and co-create, co-construct certain elements or features that are going to really meet your needs, that's going to resonate with the decision maker. That's going to help shorten or compress your contact to contract. That's going to help disarm a superintendent who may feel like, oh gosh, I bought that and I never heard from them again. No, I bought it. They leaned in. They asked if there were certain features and functionality that could be iterated upon with the support of the stakeholders within that school district, and that's a powerful dynamic. That's a powerful dynamic, and that's what would lead to growth inside the district, renewals inside of the district, and growth outside of the district to create what we call these centers of excellence of other school districts in that area who come together to take on and adopt and use and leverage the power of that solution.
cool. I'm reminded by my wife Bettina, who you know very well, who's not into sports, and she grew up. She grew up born in Argentina, grew up half in Israel, half in Mexico, and thinks it's crazy that Americans love sports so much. So I preface this show and what I'm about to say that it's worth watching Moneyball, even if you're not into sports and baseball, if you are a business owner, especially in the education space, because what the Oakland Athletics did, the baseball team, is they focused on what predicted runs and wins. And it wasn't just home runs anymore. How can we get on base and how can we win? Education founders often overvalue the size of a district, the title of the buyer, the excitement on the call, the conference conversations, the quote, send me more information. Those things are overvalued, and the true metrics that Billy Bean, if he was running an education company, would look for, and we should look for in our audience: urgency, budget reality, decision access, implementation fit, internal champion, repeatable pain, and timing. Timing is everything. And so when you think about the people out there who might be hearing this saying, I'm not into baseball, I'm certainly not into Moneyball, I don't really know who Billy Beane is, how can you bring them back and say, but wait a second, before we lose you, audience, there's a lot of great lessons to be learned here as a business owner in the education space.
Try to make sense of the greatest quote that Billy Beane said to one of his players that has nothing to do with baseball. Looks him in the eye and he says, you know this, Josh, I pay you to get on first, not to get thrown out at second. And that's what you just said. Fundamentals, blocking and tackling. Don't get ahead of yourself by shooting for a double, stealing if you don't have the speed to steal, taking the risk, because you might make it to second 8 out of 10 times, but the 2 times you don't, when we needed you on first, doing your job, playing your role, especially in a cross-functional team like EdTech, right? Where you are the customer success person. Your job is to manifest value with that anchor tenant district in New Jersey and then help grow through a center of excellence model. Job is not to provide tech insight. Your job is not to provide HR support. Your job is to provide onboarding, implementation, and customer success support, supporting this overall customer experience that will lead to the achievement of our objectives through the lens of evidence of effectiveness. So we pay you to get on first, not to get thrown out at second. Such a powerful quote, nothing to do with baseball.
Before we wrap up, quick note. If you're serious about building a real lead engine in education, not just booking meetings, but actually creating consistent momentum, this is the work we do inside the Ed Sales Elevation Experience. We help founders understand how decisions actually get made, and then build systems around that. From defining your perfect client, to targeting the right environments, to mining those environments for real opportunities. This isn't theory. It's what founders are doing right now to create predictable pipelines in education. If you want to learn more, check the show notes or go to joshchernikoff.com/go, and we'll walk you through it. All right, let's close this out. Let's bring this together.
If I hear you correctly, the idea really is just to also just get on first and then stay on first, right? Don't do anything dumb, just stay on first. So do not chase the loudest opportunity. Do not copy the biggest players. Find overlooked value. Build proof. Let proof compound. So get on first again, get on first again, get on first again. Repeat that process. And what we are really leaning into now and have been since January of 2026 is talking to our audience that we're very proud of, which in many cases are companies that are just getting started or are under $2 million. And I feel like that's a really undervalued, underutilized niche in our space. And so, as we wind this show down, I just want everybody to know that what I'm going to do is take what John said and apply it to my own life, which is just getting on first base, back on first base. This was my first attempt at it. I'll be critical of myself. I feel like this show has been tough for me, really tough, but in a good way. It gives me a measure of how far I have to go, but at least it gives me data. And I think we have to do that in our business and in our lives.
Yeah, 100%. It's good to have you back, Josh. I don't think that you were going to allow me 3 quotes, but I'm going to throw the third one out to kind of close the show.
It's your birthday, bro.
Thank you. Billy Bean says, if he's such a great hitter, why doesn't he hit good? And I just want to recognize your team. Alvin and the crew, they were all there for you. They were all calling me, how's he doing? How's he doing? They not only are good hitters, but they hit good. They get the system down, they get the system ready, do a lot of the behind the scenes work. So you hit well. Don't always look good doing it. Me too. But if you hit well, it comes out in the metrics. It comes out in the results. It comes out in the OKRs. It comes out in the KPIs. If he's such a good hitter, the flashy, why doesn't he hit good? Let's look at the underneath delivery of results and determine if he's actually a good hitter. And I just compliment you for being able to have a tough few weeks, a tough day after, embracing me when I came in to see you, not canceling today because I know yesterday and last night was hard. It was hard for me. I think I got some personal stuff with my family going on, which I can't believe. But it's a great birthday, and anybody who's out there, even if you don't like baseball, watch Moneyball through the lens of life, a journey, and doing the right thing when no one's looking, and celebrate the wins. We don't always win, and it's important that when we do, we recognize it, we celebrate it, not necessarily to the outside world, but to ourselves. I think we got to sometimes take the gloves off and give ourselves some credit to keep going. And you always encourage that, Josh, and I just appreciate you very much.
Thank you. My win today was, you're right, showing up here. I happen to be a championship caliber napper. And so I will take my rightful place on my couch and take a nap here and recharge, and wish you the happiest of birthdays you deserve. I appreciate everybody who's been with me. I'm back getting on the saddle, and I'm happy to be with you, especially on your birthday.
Amen, brother. We'll talk. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, that's it for this episode of the Ed Sales Edge. Thanks for joining us. If you sell into education, the goal of this show is very simple: to help you stop guessing what actually moves deals in a system where trust matters. If you want to go deeper, join us inside the Entourage, our private community for education founders and operators selling into schools. You'll see the details in the show notes. If this episode helped you think more clearly, that's great. Subscribe, like it, and share it with another founder in the education space. Until next time, get clear, build trust, set up a system for sales, and keep earning your edge.